Welcome, everybody, to the Impact Litigation Update tonight. Chuck Cook, Lily, Greg, and Jeff. I'm pointing at them on the screen. Jeff is in, I will just tell you, the first thing that we're doing right now, and we're going to go right to Go DD 2021, because that's on top of everybody's mind right now. Jeff is actually editing our response to the government's motion to dismiss / our motion for summary judgment. Now, Lily brought up a really good point earlier. What do these things mean? What is this? So I'm going to work with Lily and a couple other people. We're going to do a little video on what we call civil procedure. What these terms mean. So we'll probably get that done by midweek, and we'll get that out to everybody so you understand. But just briefly, the government wants the judge to throw the case out for crazy reasons. And that's the motion to dismiss. So our response to that is, you're crazy. The judge can't dismiss. All right, that's our response. It's longer than that, but that's basically it. At the same time, we're going to the judge and say, Judge, all the facts are out there. There's nobody disputing anything. Facts are facts. And because the facts favor us, you should rule for us. That's the motion for summary judgment. In most court cases, there isn't a summary judgment because you all watch on TV, the lawyer shows, and they're in jury trials and they're doing this. We're not doing any of that because we don't have any facts that he disagrees with. So we're going to move for summary judgment, and that's what summary judgment is. And so Jeff's working on that. Aaron did a lot of the yeoman's work, drafting with other folks. I've taken a look at it, and that's due this evening, unless we need another day, and then we'd ask the government for another day. But that's in good shape. We're on our timelines and go. So the rest of the timelines are: the government has 2 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, I think they have today the 7th. I think they have until the 28th. Yeah, I think they have until the 28th to respond to our motion for summary judgment and to reply to their motion to dismiss. So they get to come back and say, hey, they're not crazy, Judge. They're crazy. So they'll reply. And then we'll have a week to file our reply to the government's response to our summary judgment, which would be July. It's that Friday after July 4th. So July, do the math in my head, July 11th? Something like that, July 10th. And then the hearing on the case is July 15th. So that's where we are in Go. We've had a lot of questions, folks, about a new case that was just filed today in Washington called Good Luck versus Lincoln. We are not involved in that case. We have nothing to do with the 24,000 plaintiffs in that case. And we don't even know to what judge that case was assigned. We would, of course, oppose adding to our case because we're in the middle already of our motion for summary judgment. And so adding a case at this point would be out of bounds, we think. So, but that's where that is. We do not believe that has any impact on our timing, on our hearing coming up to set for July, or on our plaintiffs, whom we are continuing to fight for. So, plaintiffs, we have your back on this, and we'll be moving forward. I'm getting a lot of echo on this. I don't know what the echo is. You guys,
Greg and Jeff, can y'all mute or you put headphones? I think it's probably feedback from some of these speakers.
I'm just getting a little. I'm hearing myself speak. It's not that I mind hearing myself speak. It's really one of my favorite sounds. As Lily, she's laughing. I love. By the way, congratulations to Lily, who was just presented the Mentor Award from the American Immigration Lawyers Association nationally. This is a big deal, people. Huge deal. Huge deal, Lily. I've been on the selecting end of that, and it's a big deal. Congratulations. You should you should be very proud of yourself. You rock.
Thank you. I appreciate the shout out.
That means
I've got good mentors, so I've had the good
you
examples.
helped a lot of people who told the Lawyer Association, Lily's the best. And Lily is. She's just great. So we appreciate her.
Apparently I get bonus points for being on Facebook all day at the office. I
Yeah,
see when Greg comes in, I say, it's work, I swear.
So it's worth it. There you go. It's worth it for the awards. That's great. So that's where we are on Go. I did have some questions that somebody wanted me to ask that will not be watching live on Go. And I wanted to address these questions from Pavel, who apparently values his sleep more than he values watching us live. That's okay, Pavel. We still love you. The first question is sharing the briefs and motions in the case. We will do that. We will get those up. Give us till after we file our response in this case. The briefs themselves, the motions, do not have a lot of personal information in them. So I don't even think we need to anonymize them because they're basically just the law. And the facts aren't really super personal other than Mr. Go's facts, which are public domain. So
we do give examples of consular communications and mention people not by name in one section. So we will have to redact it a little.
We'll redact that and get that out. Yeah. By the way, thank you to everybody for sharing your wonderful emails that you got from the consulates when you asked about your case, and them admitting we're not doing DVs this year. You're the lowest priority. My parent needs the birdcage changed. I mean, all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with doing your case, and we're very appreciative of that because it's very, very helpful. So that's Pavel's first question. We will get that out, Pavel. Second question: what is the Go timeline for our visa adjudications? I think DOS is ignoring the plaintiffs. Well, yeah, they are not adjudicating plaintiffs. I mean, they're not adjudicating anybody. But what's been happening is, as all the Go plaintiffs know, the government has requested your details of your case. We have provided those to the government. They are, I imagine, at this point, digging through the KCC garbage cans for your case files so they can be ready to make sure that all plaintiffs' cases are adjudicated by September 30th. But again, this is, when the judge makes a decision, which will obviously be after July 15th, get your big girl pants strapped on, because it's going to be a wild ride to get everybody adjudicated by the September. But the good news is we will have at least twice the amount of time for our plaintiffs than we had last year. So that's a good sign. So we'll have at least that if we aren't successful in reserving visas, which we believe we will. The next question from Pavel, we have 4, is I have contacted KCC dozens of times via phone. Well, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but they turned off their phones. Isn't that what they told us recently? Lily, they told us they turned off their phone.
Or that they're just they don't have the capacity to answer it.
I think they turned them off. I don't think they checked them. Greg, you're on mute.
Yeah, what Lily said.
Yeah, Greg, actually that feedback's coming from Jeff. So you can stay on, Greg. It's something in Jeff's area because you're not getting any feedback right now. So that's the deal on that. And let's look for the last question here. One of the reasons, let's go to Pavel's question, that the government is asking for your data is so they can do what they should have done months ago at the KCC. The last part is, the question is contacting the assistant U.S. attorney part of the Go fee? Remember, our fee is outlined in our agreement that you sign, which is prepare and file this application and do everything in our power to get the government to schedule you for an interview. The individualized contact on each individual case is not part of our fee. We're not your lawyers for the actual case, but we are doing everything in our power to make sure that everybody gets scheduled should we win this case in July. So that's hopefully that answers your question, Paul.
Chuck, related to that, I mean, a few of our plaintiffs have been put in administrative processing.
So they have been interviewed. They have been interviewed.
They had an interview and they were put in administrative processing. So that would be an example of something that would be particular for a person's immigration lawyer to handle versus us. But, It's unless there's some evidence that they are using administrative processing as a as a stall tactic, but we haven't heard anything really, that that's actually happening.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. And a lot of times on these DV cases, a lot of times there's administrative processing, and of course it depends on where you're from. If you're from Iran and get administrative processing, I don't know anybody who hasn't been put in administrative processing from Iran.
Well, they don't seem to hesitate to just delay working on the case. I don't think they need administrative processing as the excuse. The excuse is just that they're not working on it. So,
amen to that. I did want to jump really quick because I got a lot of questions this week. Apparently, folks aren't listening to me in the Gomez case. Gomez Acker, DV 2020. We have no information. We're not hiding information. There's literally nothing going on. You all heard when we had our meeting with Judge Mehta in April, was it April or May? When he set our hearing date, and he says, "Can we do them together?" And I said, "I don't have a problem with that," but everybody else did, so they all filed that they did, and we haven't heard back since. I don't know what that means. What we do know is this: Judge Mehta told us that he's busy in August and September. Now Greg, I think also pointed out, maybe it was Jeff, Judge Mehta also has got several other huge cases going on, including a lot of the criminal cases that come out of the insurrection from January 6th. He's sitting on a lot of those cases. So I don't envy his workload right now.
Well, I will say it's a little bit rich we took you and I took some heat when we suggested that maybe it wouldn't be the worst idea to have these together, and everybody was like, "No, you're just going to delay things, et cetera." And in the meantime, we're almost in mid-June, and if we and it may be that ends that would have been the best thing of all as far as the timing goes if they
when judges issue a decision without a hearing, they tell you, "Hey, I'm not going to have a hearing in this case. I'm going to decide on the submission." He hadn't done that, so he's going to have a hearing in Gomez. I just don't know when it is. And so there you go. I'm not going to answer any more DMs or messages on Twitter about that because I've said it quite clearly here. Let's talk about some other cases. And I hate to pull Jeff's attention. Jeff, can I have your attention for a minute? Talk about Milligan and where we are with Milligan.
Not a lot of news on Milligan this week. As you know, we filed our response last week to the motion to dismiss. And that's really all that's been happening on Milligan. One piece of good news is it appears that our last remaining round one plaintiff is scheduled for interview in Montreal. And thank you very much, Mary and Gus, for your patience. In this case, you've earned an award for that. So, but that's great news. That's really the only thing I have on Milligan.
Okay. So let's quickly look at the K1 cases here. And by the way, we're excusing Aaron because Aaron's carrying all the water on Go right now. K1 Cairo, family-based preference Cairo. We haven't heard anything from the government yet. Their 60 days is almost up, if I'm not mistaken, if I do my math right, in another week or so. Presumably, if they have a brain at all, they will be just adjudicating these cases. There just weren't that many in K1 or family-based Cairo. But we're going to give them those 60 days, and we're going to find out what their answer is going to be as part of this. The government has not reached out to us in that case. K1 Rio. K1 Rio Rio's adjudicating cases. We just had several people recently and are in the K1 Rio case that are getting their cases adjudicated. Jeff and Greg, this is something that actually really brought home in the discovery that we got in the Go case. It's quite, and then subsequently in a lot of things that have been said by Department of State officials, they come out with these NIEs, they come out with the America Strong, where the hell they called it, they come out with prioritization. It is quite clear, based upon consular activity, that all of those are recommendations, and they are not the actual rules that are required to be followed by consulates. Am I interpreting that wrong?
I don't think so.
No. I mean, they're like, yeah.
Seems like they're Sorry,
Pretty clear
it just
that
seems
Manila
like they're
doesn't
each
bound by anything.
doing their own thing.
Yeah, this is just stunning to me that Constant's like, I don't care. And Jeff made this comment months ago about Manila. Manila is rogue. It's completely rogue. They ignored every recommendation from their bosses. And they're, K1? No, only K1s with kids aging out. Only K1s who are dying of cancer. But not even then are we going to do those. I mean, not even that. So this is what's stunning. It's why these individual lawsuits will be important as we move forward. And it also points out why Rio has been interviewing people. I mean, they clearly are making an effort. And if you're in the consulate in Rio, thank you. We very much appreciate it. So which gets us to Manila. Jeff, I don't know if you want to talk about Manila any more than I've already talked about the K1 suit in Manila.
Zero movement in Manila.
They're really not.
Consistently zero movement. They haven't changed that. So, this one looks like this one will go to the end, and we'll be battling it in summary judgment.
That's fine.
So just remind folks on the timing.
I think it's the 25th of this month that we're expecting the government's response.
Mm-hmm.
So we're expecting them to file a motion to dismiss as they have in our other cases. We haven't seen it yet. So when and if they do, we will respond as zealously as we have in the other cases. I mean, how could they argue that they should dismiss the case when all this time they haven't been doing the thing that the suit is about them not doing? It seems pretty self-evident why the suit is necessary.
One of the funny things, Lily, that they're making on their motion to dismiss, one of the things I love the most, because it really is the most creative thing that I've seen come out of the government in years, is that you didn't sue the individual consular officer. You only sued Tony Blinken. Well, I was shocked when I first read that, because that is so ridiculously stupid. I can't imagine somebody a brief to a federal court.
Is he or is he not their boss?
Yeah.
Does he or does he not direct the agency?
Well, as if you could figure out, each consular officer that was working on each matter. As if the judge wants to haul those individuals into court.
Yeah.
But the funny thing
how are you going to identify the person who hasn't interviewed you yet? How is that even possible?
And the thing that they say along with that argument, that the corresponding piece of the argument is, you have to sue each individual consular officer because they each have so much discretion that nobody tells them what to do. Each of those individual officers is just deciding not to work on cases, right? Like, it just so happens that all the officers in Manila independently as line workers, with all respect to them, foreign service officers, are just sitting at home not working on cases by coincidence. I mean, it's really a bizarre interpretation of how the government is supposed to work.
The way our foreign policy works, Lily, is individual consular officers with 3 months of experience make our foreign policy. They're literally in charge of it. They have more power than Tony Blinken. It's truly one of the most ridiculous arguments, and I'm glad they keep making it too, because it just sets them up to be ridiculed by the court when they look. I mean, no court's going to buy that. I mean, honestly, I can't believe the U.S. attorneys are saying, we're not going to make that argument. I'm sorry. That's stupid. In any event, K1 Moscow, we filed that, of course, and now it's been a couple of weeks, I think, already. And we don't have a government attorney appearing in that. I'll be calling them this week after we get done with the Go filing. I'm going to call the government attorney, because our office is handling that, and find out who's going to be assigned to that, or ask them to assign somebody to see, because Moscow presents a very unique situation in that they're not doing the visas because they basically are closed. I mean, I know they're open, but they're really kind of closed. And so making accommodations for people in other consulates is very, very important. Plus, it also helps as we set up that process for processing in third countries for K1s. It also helps our DV people who are going to have to do the same exact thing. So that's where we are. You're not lost. We got you on top. Lily, K1 London. You want to give us an update on that?
Take the question mark off. We are going ahead with K1 London. Thanks to our intrepid organizers, we now have 105 couples on board. I emailed most of you. I don't recall if it was Thursday evening or Friday morning. So those of you who joined on Friday, I'll owe an email to. Greg and I will go ahead and update the website to reflect that we can take on more new couples this week. If you know anybody who, just got their approval notice for the I-129F, their NOA2, or if you know anybody who just found out about the suit and, wants to join, I'm working on drafting that complaint. And so while we're, now that we definitely have our critical mass to go ahead, we can sign up a couple of folks late. So it seems that, I know we'll talk about this more in Kinsley when we get to Kinsley, but it seems that the London consulate has basically suspended all non-immigrant visas, or they said that they are going to suspend all non-immigrant visas starting August 1st. They gave no reason. They're already moving those interviews. It apparently not for K1s. They're treating K1s, which are sort of this hybrid immigrant but not immigrant visa. As far as I know, our clients' K1 interviews, I haven't seen any set for August, but the ones that we're seeing in June and July so far are not being canceled. So we're hoping that our K1s will be able to get interviewed, even if this nonsense with canceling other interviews goes forward. But we're going to argue that this shows the need for a mandamus, right? That London believes that they can just say, oh, 2 months from now, we're going to stop doing X or Y. Well, then what's them to stop them from saying, well, we don't feel like doing any K1s this week, or we don't feel like doing this or that category this week. I mean, they should all be vaccinated by now. The UK is opening back up. They should be working overtime to clear the backlog and not just suspending random visa categories. So I know we'll talk more about that with Kinsley, because we do have non-immigrant visa plaintiffs for Kinsley.
My understanding of what's happening in London, and I don't know if this is how it's working in other countries, but this is what I understand is happening in London, is they are working on a 50% schedule still, where they are alternating they're alternating 3-day, 2-day weeks. So somebody comes in on Monday, Wednesday, Friday 1 week, Tuesday, Thursday the next week on there. And so and they're not working on cases outside of the office, and they're not able to log into their systems, and they're not able to take files home. So they are still basically working at 50% capacity is the maximum output that we're getting still from the consulates at this point. So if that's happening, more broadly, I don't know if that's just London or if that's similar schedules at other consulates, but that's essentially, what's happening at consulates around the world is there's 50% less available hours to work on cases, at least at that consulate and presumably others.
Well, that they took a 50% pay cut, right?
Yeah.
But why? Again, once, our office, now that we're all vaccinated, some of us are working full-time at home, some of us are working full-time at the office, some of us are hybrid, but we're all doing our jobs 100% of the time.
Yeah,
right?
There's no explanation given as far as when they're coming back full-time, why they can't do video interviewing at this point. We know that they are falsely telling, at least in the Kinsley case, which we're going to get to, that they're falsely telling some of the associations that it's illegal for them to do video interviewing, which it's not.
That is outrageous.
Yeah, the regulation quite specifically make an exception for unusual circumstances where they're allowed.
And we're going to talk about that in the complaint too, right? That's just lack of good faith that they're
the
regulation says they have to interview in person unless, and then there are a bunch of exceptions that seem to contemplate exactly the situation,
emergent or unusual circumstances, because
so they are, but the thing is, there's no plan. They have not explained how they are going to clear out this massive backlog, when they are going to get back to normal processing. They haven't told anybody anything, and at this point, I mean, people are asking me. I had a consultation today where somebody asked me, it's like, if we don't litigate this, this is just somebody about an individual case, like, what's the added weight that cases are getting right now? And it's like, I would say probably 1 to 2 years, if not more on there. I don't know how they're going to incorporate 500,000 additional cases when we have no idea when they're even getting back to full time.
It's absolutely insane. So, Lily, do you have a projected file date? What is your goal file date for UK London?
See, I'm nervous to give a date because then all that day my inbox is going to be blowing up with "Did you file yet? Did you file yet?" So we say that we generally try to file within about 2 weeks of closing the intake of the right. So that's my hope, but I want to make sure that this complaint incorporates and addresses head on some of the arguments that we're seeing in the motions to dismiss for other cases. So I would rather get a really thorough complaint in for you than rush it and then get smacked down. But I promise our London plaintiffs, the second it is filed, I will let you know and I will send you a copy. So if you haven't heard from me that it's been filed, then it hasn't yet been filed or has been filed within the last 10 minutes.
Great.
Yes. So,
and we'll be filing that in Washington, D.C. as well. So,
yes.
All right.
And congrats to Greg, who's now admitted there. So we can maybe file it on your Pacer account.
Now my names are going to be on the complaints.
There you go. Finally, it takes forever to get sworn in D.C. And actually, Greg, you're getting sworn in the same day as my partner Danielle is, who's been waiting about 9 months to get sworn in, about the same amount of time.
Mine is official today.
All right, so EB5 Fong, it is today. I guess you guys want it today. EB5 Fong case. We're just waiting at this point, and hopefully we will hear from the judge. So that's kind of the update. I don't have any other update than that. I have a call tomorrow with the government lawyer to ask him about the rest of our client. What are they doing to prepare for losing? What are they doing to prepare for losing and scheduling our clients? So that's kind of where we are. I did want to update our H-1B abuse lottery case. This is not to be confused with the other H-1B lottery case, which is an action we're doing with ALA to fight their crazy rule on only giving H-1Bs people that get paid $1 jillion a year. That's a part. We're going to win that slam dunk. This H-1B case is the lottery abuse case, which we are proceeding on. We're drafting it right now because we have enough plaintiffs. And our goal is to file within the next short while. Remember, we kept it open until I think
it actually doesn't close until this week.
Yeah, I think it's either this week. I think it's this week. And normally we would begin preparing after that, but we're already preparing it because we have enough plaintiffs. So basically, this is to get immigration to figure out a way, and get a court, first of all, to ask the court to order immigration to not accept multiple applications from the same individual from different employers, because that's illegal under the statute. But really, it's, and hopefully that happens, and hopefully because we're going to do a file preliminary injunction with the case, because they may conduct a secondary lottery. They may conduct that relatively soon. And we want that secondary lottery not to include multiple applications from the same individual, which gives a radically unfair advantage to people who aren't proving that these are real jobs. But really the case is mostly about next year. Because if we file the suit this year, win or lose, the government's now on notice, as are a lot of other people on notice, that, hey, you can game the system. Just get lots of employers to sponsor you. And if USCIS is going to acknowledge this gaming of the system and allow it going forward, I don't think it's going to look so good for them. So we might see pretty quick rulemaking in that regard. And that's really the purpose of this lawsuit, is hopefully to save people this year, but it's really about a lot of next year's graduates. And that's what we're fighting for. So that's kind of where we are on that. Greg, do you want to talk about our delayed litigation case?
Yeah, so we are steadily adding plaintiffs. That will be until the 21st that we're going to be onboarding plaintiffs. That case is we explained it last week, but I'll give the quick rundown on it again. Is that as folks who filed adjustment applications in the EB 1, 2, and 3 categories last October, November, December, when dates became advanced, the filing date charts advanced because of a big rollover of unused family immigration numbers from last year. Those numbers must be used by September 30th, or those numbers will evaporate, and they will not roll back and increase family immigration numbers next year. I think a lot of people were under that misimpression, but the way the immigration laws work, that will not happen. And this will be a net loss in the system, and that's 100,000 numbers that could go to backlog reduction. That will not be happening. So we are litigating to do two things. One is we want our plaintiffs to get their cases adjudicated before September 30th. And two, we are asking the government to reserve those visas that they should be issuing before September 30th to like in the Acker case, for those numbers to be in a pool that's available afterwards, rather than this non-rollback that will happen on October 1st. This should be something that the Biden, one of the lawyers for the government one time told us something, Chuck, and I'm not going to mention which case or anything about it, but sometimes the government is really rooting for you when in these cases, they're rooting for the judges to force things that politically they can't do on their own. And I think this might be one of those where the Biden administration wouldn't be all that upset if they lost this case and a judge told them that the 100,000 visas have to be issued. It would be good politically for them. It would be good as far as from a policy point of view of helping them address this massive backlog, which I think that most people who are sane on immigration agree should be reduced on there.
They're probably hoping for some extra time to do it, though, because I don't think have any way to do it.
So a reserve also solves that problem for them, which means that they have some time to breathe and get it done. So I'm not so sure that, but they, I think that they're constrained as far as being able to do that on their own, or even to argue that in litigation. So I have a feeling there's a bunch of people secretly rooting for us in the Biden.
Greg, I used to believe that was true until today's Supreme Court decision on TPS adjustment, which is a massive fail by the Biden administration in not literally canceling the case. It's absolutely outrageous. First of all, the decision is a terrible decision. And I mean, I like some of these Supreme Court folks. It's 9-0 that the loss, but which just tells me they literally do not understand immigration law. And that was evident from an oral argument, which I listened to in that case. So, the government could do the right thing sometimes, and sometimes they just don't. And that was evident there. Now, I do believe you're right, though. I think there are people within the government that would love to reserve those numbers. And they can't. They can't legally do it themselves. But a judge could certainly order them to do it, we believe. And, last year we had this, I remember Judge Maida in oral argument last August. He said, well, this isn't like the family-based cases, which just get new ones next year. And that's the misunderstanding. These visas are never coming back. And that's the thing that nobody really understands. They're never coming back. And so, yes, these people, everybody in this case will get their green cards. Eventually they'll get their green cards. But we will never get that backlog recovered unless we force the government to do it. And
well, Chuck, I'm not so sure that. I think some people might think that if these numbers aren't reserved, that they're just going to get their, October, November, December, they're going to get their green cards then out of next year's rollover, which is going to happen again. We're going to see this. However, I think people need to remember, we're talking if you look at the service center processing time charts, 30 months, 40 months that they're looking at in adjustment cases. If they are taking that kind of time, and I think that given the fact that it took 6 months just to issue receipts here, I'm not optimistic at all that they're going to be, on the shorter end of adjudicating. But if September 30th, 2022 rolls around on there, this whole massive allotment that went and rolled over last year and is going to roll over again on September 30th, that all may be lost. And if they get back to anything like normal visa processing for family immigration numbers, these people could be waiting years and years and years and years more in the adjustment lines on there. They'll have adjustment applications, which is great that they're filed, but we saw what happened with VisaGate, a number of years ago, where we had people that were, approved in 2007, and it took them like 10 years to adjust.
Exactly. Right.
That could be the case again. So don't assume that you're going to get those numbers that roll over this year next year, you could find that none of those numbers end up getting used by any of you guys.
Greg, I just went into the US for our viewers here. You can actually go to uscis.gov and look for the link for processing times. And you can go in there and check the 485, which is the adjustment of status, and go to the California Service Center. Say, well, how much time is a 485 taking? And they say 16 to 65 months. 5 years. They're currently working on employment-based cases from January 6th, 2016.
Yeah.
2016, people. It's 5.5 years at this point. That's why you need to sue them. Because again, when the judge looks at this and goes, how can you justify it? First of all, these people paid you $1,000. When they filed, they were immediately adjustable. At that moment, they could get a green card. And these people that filed in 2016, they should be naturalizing now. Naturalizing. You're literally costing the ability to bring their families over. So I think if I was an adjustment applicant, whether or not I like Chuck Cook, I would sue these guys. And we're the team that's doing it, right? Nobody else is doing it. People have poo-pooed, oh, you can't sue the government. It's only been 6 or 7 months. That's not true. Reasonable is not determined by the government. Greg made a great point about this. Why is it normal that it takes a year, 2 years? Why is that normal? That's not normal.
Especially given what you pay.
Yeah. It's not like you're paying, well, here's my $10, get back. Paying $1,225.
If you went to an immigration lawyer and you pay that immigration lawyer several $1,000s, and then the lawyer said, I'll get to working on your case in a year. Because it's really what are they spending, about an hour, 2 hours max on these cases?
More than that. It cannot be more than that.
If a lawyer told you they weren't going to work on your case for a year, you would be shopping for another one. But this is how the government works. It's
the only immigration service we have, unfortunately. So we use the courts to hold them accountable. Could we lose? Sure, we could lose. But we're sending a message.
Yeah.
And so next year when we sue again, because then it's over a year, they'll say, Judge, we sued last year. It's just like an enunciado proceeded go. We're going to the judge and say, Judge, we told them last November that they can't disobey your previous order, and they did. So we're setting the stage here. I think we're going to win. I think this is a great case, personally. All right, the last case is Kinsley. And so where are we in Kinsley? Mr. Joseph, are you available to talk about our Kinsley case?
Yeah, so Kinsley, couple things new on Kinsley. The first is that the motion for preliminary injunction and or summary judgment is in final draft form. It's in my inbox, just got in my inbox about 30 minutes ago for review. So I will review that and pass it on to the rest of the team, and we will be filing that by sometime this week. The other thing that's interesting is the U.S. attorney, normally we reach out to him to try and get him to move cases. He reached out to us last week on behalf of 17 different plaintiffs and asked for their NVC numbers and their dates of birth and their et cetera. And we think that's
mostly non-immigrant visas.
Yes, sorry, NIVs, yes. And asked for all their information.
A couple of Ks, I think 2 of whom had already been issued.
Yeah, actually, several of them had been issued. So it's clear they're trying to kind of get their record straight and move cases. So either way, the good news is that Kinsley has been fully briefed now, and all we need to do is wait for a decision from the judge on whether we win or not. So
there we go. All right, let's take we have 120 comments. Oh my. I don't think we're going to get to everybody today, but we will try. And I want to apologize. I'm missing comments before 6:06. So Lily, if you want to scan the 6 o'clock to 6:06 comments,
the early birds,
let me know when you have.
I think those are the first ones I see. Also, I know we went live a couple of minutes late, so maybe we didn't have comments before that.
Facebook, but I don't know.
The first one I see is Waleed saying we got lots of echo. Sorry, Waleed. I think we fixed it.
Yeah, we fixed that, I think. So I want to address. I mean, a lot of these are addressed already, but I'm afraid to go because of good luck. Why be afraid? Lily, do you live your life in fear?
Oh, I
No.
mean, I do have a fair amount of fear and anxiety, but I do my best to manage it.
None.
Of course we do.
No, we fear.
You asked the wrong person, Chuck.
Oh, yeah, yeah, if you don't live your life in fear, do you? No, me neither. Look, the judge, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. Our case is briefed. We're on schedule. That's not going to slow down for any other case to join us. I think what's going to happen, this is Chuck prognosticating, is every other case is going to be held in abeyance until Judge Mehta issues a decision and go. Go is the lead case now. Go is the plaintiff's is the lead case because Judge Mehta, I think, is viewed by his colleagues as the expert in the DV lottery case. And I think they're deferring to him. And Judge is not going to get any different briefing anybody else than he is from us. So I think whatever happens in Go will affect other cases. And our plaintiffs will, of course, be the first to get their visas set up. Remember, as I said earlier, government's already asking for our plaintiffs' numbers so they can begin the work that they need to do to make sure they have everybody lined up. So there we go. All right. So we did the Blinken. Thank you. Thank you. We talked about Penn versus Blinken. That's the Rio case. We already talked about that. Again, I tried
I'm seeing a lot of Rio plaintiffs. You'll see a lot of these comments saying, yes, we know they're scheduling interviews, but cases don't seem to be moving from the NVC. Hopefully that will change once Rio starts clearing the backlog of cases that's at the consulate, but we're aware of that issue.
My understanding is that most consulates don't keep an endless supply of cases. Because their physical spaces are limited, so they get cases as they have space. But we all know no cases were sent to any consulate for a year, right? So what are they doing all that space?
In 2021, that they need physical space for physical files.
Yeah, well, they remember for Rio, they have to put them on the donkey in Vermont or New Hampshire and literally escort that donkey all the way to Rio with the physical files back. Remember, we forget how these are transported.
Okay. The Darien Gap
doesn't exist in Brazil. So we've got that going for it. Let's see. Latest update. We gave that update. Cairo. Let's see. Well, the judge makes a decision on a motion to dismiss. So, I mean, if we win, then they're basically that's telling the government they're going to lose. So they process all the cases. I mean, that's generally how that works. Let's see. I want to put this up because Lily is the best. All right.
Thank
I
you.
like this one. You powerhouse. See, this is really good.
You see the men on the screen all the time, but there are a lot of women working on these cases.
Don't think we
they mostly have better things to do than
they're actually working.
Come on YouTube. They're actually working. Yes.
Well, we're enjoying the video spotlight. This is a good question because Montreal has said publicly, and I don't know if Costa's the one that sent me this video. In a video, we will not do DV cases this year. Montreal has actually said that on a video. That's going to look good in the motion for summary judgment. So we're not going to do them this year. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. So thank you for that.
Don't call us. We'll call you.
Yeah, don't call us. This really goes to that point we raised earlier about these consulates just doing what they want to do. I mean, to be able to go on YouTube or Facebook and say stuff like, we don't really care what our bosses told us to do, we're not going to do it. I mean, the word that comes to my mind for that, Greg, if excuse my expression, is chutzpah. It takes a lot of chutzpah to do that, don't you think? I don't really care what you do. I don't care what Greg wants. I'm going to do this. I mean, that's crazy. But that's how the consulates work, right? Let's see. I love when we have computer experts that tell us what the problem is with our computers. Yes, Nina, I think we figured that one out. Thank you very much. Let's see. A lot of these we answered. Do I think the Go plaintiffs will need more than the wait fiscal year? No, I don't, actually. I think the Go plaintiffs will get all their visas before the end of September 3rd. That's why I said buckle up, because once we win, I really do believe they're going to process all of you guys very, very quickly. And that anybody that's added on in a later time or different lawsuits, they'll come later. Which again, which is why, but one thing we've talked about a lot of times, our plaintiffs' numbers are all over the map. We have low numbers, we have high numbers. And here's the other thing. We also know that the consulates are not, despite what they said, are not issuing DVs in case number order. We know that because they've issued visas, DVs, people with higher numbers than our clients who are documentarily qualified. So we know that's the case. So that's one of their other defenses. Oh, they're in case order and they don't guarantee they'll get it. That's not how this works. According to them, it's not how it works. All right. Let's see. When will the May 20th probably be heard by the Judiciary Committee? This is not a call on litigation and keep our promises, so I don't know. I will tell you this, and maybe Greg could join in here. I would not expect, honestly, anything promising coming out of the United States Congress on immigration, short of the Dream and Promise Act, maybe. I just do not, unless Chucky Schumer puts his big boy pants on and twists Manchin's arm and shoves it through reconciliation, I see no way they're going to pass it.
No. Well, the only thing I'll tell people, this is my general guidance regarding legislation, is the only bills that are going to move are ones that have 10 Republican co-sponsors or at least 10 Republican votes. And there are a few immigration bills that will have that. You just mentioned the DREAM Act is one. There's some backlog reduction stuff for doctors and some others that might happen. But generally speaking, they don't have 10 Republican votes on most bills at this point.
It's like the Dream and Promise Act, I think, can pass. The ag worker amnesty basically was that has a lot of Republican co-sponsors. Yeah. So we'll just see what happens. What happens a lot of times in our Congress is, well, we're not going to bring that bill that you really want unless you support this bill that you don't really want. And they go, well, I don't want that bill that much.
There is something, Chuck, that is not litigation related that might affect all the stuff we're working on in a good way, and that is the leaked document that came out of the White House a couple of days ago. The New York Times reported on. There's a 60-page document that is basically the game plan for trying to get back on track as far as delays and a lot of the problems that they've had. And nobody's seen this document yet, but we'll obviously be looking at the parts, particularly as it relates to consular processing, for some of the plans, and some of the things that we've suggested in our litigation may work their way in, and they may already be in this plan. So it'll be very interesting when we see that to figure out if where the government might be going to try and fix this stuff that we're litigating.
Apparently, it's harder to get that document than the secret subpoenas for New York Times reporters for their phone records. It's a double secret probation kind of document. Here's a good question from Mike Holman. Might have some plaintiffs that would be able to talk to a major conservative news anchor and radio host about the major. I think that's a great idea. Again, the press helps us. Ask Mr. Kinsley. Okay, the press helps us. Right now,
tell your story.
I have a Wall Street Journal reporter right now that's looking to talk right now to somebody whose consulate has canceled their non-immigrant visa interview. So if you want to talk to a Wall Street Journal reporter who's doing a story tomorrow about this, email me and I will get you in touch with her. You can also reach out to her on the Twitter machine. She is Michelle Hackman, terrific reporter on immigration issues.
She knows her stuff, yeah.
She's a non-immigrant visa whose visa interview's been delayed and canceled by a consulate looking to talk to you. All right.
She's the reason we know how many people are stuck at the NVC. She's the one who asked the question at the State Department.
A shouted question that was randomly answered. And then, of course, they had to respond with affidavits from their folks about that. I tell you, I can't, and we are releasing the discovery we got in the Go case. Everybody can read it. But I can't get over really how much good stuff is there, and not just especially not for DV, because there's not a lot of DV stuff in there. It's all for all the visa categories. It's actually just stunning the hubris under which the Department of State has been operating for the last 3 or 4 years. Because we got discovery going back to 2018. It's really absolutely remarkable to me that that's going on. But somebody just asked, can you tell a consulate that you're a plaintiff in the Rio case? Yeah. I mean, you can tell me you're a plaintiff. Absolutely. They know who you are. Trust me, they know who you are. Are the only round 2 Milligans left Manila? I think there's a few other Milligan round 2 people. I don't think there's a lot.
Very few.
Yeah, very few.
Mostly Manila.
Mostly Manila.
Mostly Manila.
Let's see. Somebody put this comment, conservative means against most types of immigration. Actually, that's not necessarily true. And it depends on what you mean by the word, to paraphrase Bill Clinton, depends on what you mean by the word conservative. Real conservatives favor immigration and pretty open immigration for that matter. Keep in mind, Ronald Reagan signed an amnesty. He was the last U.S. president to do that. And they don't come more, quote, conservative than Ronald Reagan. What's happened in the United States, though, is that conservatives, that term has been taken over by nativists. That part of the GOP is moving forward very much on an anti-immigration agenda. So it just depends on what you mean by the word. I mean, is that accurate? Am I misquoting that? I mean, I think people would agree with me on that.
Still, I mean, and there are a lot of they still draw a line. A lot of conservatives in the media between undocumented folks and people that are pursuing legal immigration. So if you talk to conservative media, you may find you got to have a friendlier conversation than you might anticipate.
Well, Synthesia wants to become an associate at Siskin and Susser. Do you have to go to JD, pass the bar, go to 3 years of law school? That's what you have to do here after your bachelor's degree. I envy the country.
Unless you're Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, we got
that deal in California. In that deal in California, you could just work and take the bar after a couple.
You
months.
could be like Kim Kardashian, right?
I think that's harder.
She hasn't passed yet,
that's a hard pass she's taking.
I only failed by 82 points. I was only 82 points, but I failed by. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
With what she's going on at home, more power to her. I wish her better luck next time.
Don't take the bar. Don't take the exam when you have COVID.
Yeah, I wonder if she took a bar review course, because they don't give you a different test. They give you the same test.
You had her personal bar review guy.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm sure she did, right?
You could do that when
$1 million. Why wouldn't you? Kabul. We don't have. I don't staff people to follow up with every embassy around the world. Kabul is a nightmare. It is a tragedy and a shame on the Biden administration that they are not loading planes with people to get them the hell out of Afghanistan that cooperated with the United States. I mean, if they started today, they might be able to get everybody out, loading planes 10 times a day, but they're not doing it. And shame on the Department of State for making me sue them 20 times over the last decade to get translator visas. It's absolutely outrageous what you guys have done at the Department of State on this stuff. I mean, it really pisses me off that we are treating allies like this. What does it say to the next country we happen to invade who people want to help us? Don't. We don't have your back. That's exactly what it says. Let's see. How long will Judge Maynard rule? I don't know. I keep having to put my glasses up like this so I can see better.
I will say, be prepared for a wait. Last year when we were waiting on the Gomez-Hocker decision, it was more than 3 weeks. I think it was more like
5 weeks, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a long wait.
But I think he has a better understanding today of what's going on.
Also, he's already written this decision pretty much once, right? So, I mean, it's going to be rehashing a lot of the arguments he's already made.
I think we've got it there. Okay. Let's see.
Also, that's a super stunning picture.
This is a great picture. I'm trying to get to some questions here, a lot of comments here. Look, if we win the lawsuit in any of these lawsuits, the KCC, NBC, they are the Department of State. So they will have to process the cases. I mean, I don't know how KCC itself did it last September, but they did. And if that means they got to work 24 hours a day, everybody who cares, raise their hand. Nobody cares how much they have to work. A federal court order which they disobey, they will be held in contempt. And they don't want to be held in contempt in federal court. That's not a good thing. But it also strengthens our case for reserving visas in the long run. Let's see. Let's see, got 3 minutes left here. If we win the Go case, when we win the Go case, the court can appeal. I mean, the government can appeal, but the judge is not going to hold his decision in abeyance. He didn't last year. He's not going to be this year. So, yeah, they can appeal it, and they can certainly control the issuance of visas the following year. And I think the Gomez case is not on appeal anymore because there's no final decision, and the reservation of visas depends on a final decision. So, yes, they will hold that case in abeyance. I mean, if an appeal for the visas they don't issue this year. So if you're not, I think our plaintiffs will get all their visas, but if you don't, you'll have to keep waiting for the appeals process, which will probably take another year in the process. So sorry. Let's see here.
Someone wants to know what's the name of Jeff's fish.
Yeah.
I want to know too. So
the fish's name is Sushi.
Nina.
Wow.
Wow, that's a threat.
I'm hungry already.
Naming your horse Glue Factory.
That's great. Want to ask a question regarding plaintiff H-1B abuse case. Will I still be able to enjoy the benefit of plaintiff if we win during the legal change? Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that as a problem at all. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in this week. We'll be back next Monday with our update on our YouTube channel. Jeff apologizes for putting it on his Facebook page last week because we got to get him set up in our StreamYard. Just kidding, Jeff. Let's see. Tomorrow we have, who's live tomorrow? Is that Jeff at noon? No,
Greg.
We'll do tomorrow night at 7. We're changing our procedures, so asking for questions ahead of time. We'll show on Twitter how to do that.
And Jeff, you've got noon Central Time on Wednesday. I've got 2 o'clock back-to-back doubleheader on Wednesday Eastern Time. Wait a second, that's the same time.
I'm actually at 2 o'clock Eastern on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, as am I. So that's a problem. I'll have to
You're 12 o'clock Eastern on Thursday?
2 o'clock Eastern.
On Thursday.
You're on Thursday?
I'm on Thursday, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was on Wednesday, so we're good. And we're actually in Mandarin at 2 o'clock on Thursday.
Wait, we're all going to see, and Chuck and Jeff and I are going to be together in a couple weeks, like toward the end of the month. So
that should be a lot of fun.
We may do something all at the same time in the same place.
Special one. And this week, by the way, is the annual conference of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, of which we're all speaking at. Those of you who don't know, Jeff Joseph is the incoming treasurer. Is that right, Jeff, for the American Immigration Lawyers Association?
That's right.
National
Show me the money, Ayla.
Money, baby. And I'm going to call him up and say, why is my dues so high? So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Can you guys hold on after we get off?